Hey there guys, welcome to another video. In today's video I'll be doing a review of the TCL 10 Pro. This is a new mid-range phone being released by TCL. And you may know TCL as they are the second largest TV maker globally. They also have phone brands such as Alcatel, and they have released Android Blackberries in the past. And they are starting to release phones under their own brand here. These cameras consist of a 64 megapixel main sensor. We have a 2 megapixel low light video sensor. We do have a 5 megapixel macro sensor, and then a 16 megapixel super wide sensor here. So really nice. So along with those quad sensors on the back, the front camera sensor here is a 24 megapixel sensor. So the TCL 10 Pro does run Android 10 with a TCL UI on top. It's a very light skin. It has a Snapdragon 675 processor. We have 128 gigs of storage on board, 6 gigs of RAM, and a 4500 milliamp hour battery. And it does have expandable storage up to 256 gigs via micro SD. And that micro SD card is in the same slot as the SIM card. As far as our connectivity is concerned, this will be unlocked and it will work on all 3 carriers. That's kind of weird to say that, but it will work on T-Mobile, AT&T, and Verizon networks and LTE. It does include all the latest LTE bands. It is not 5G, however. It does also have 802.11 AC, so it runs really nice and quick. For security, this does include Face Unlock. It is not biometric, but it is using the camera there. And it does have an in-screen fingerprint reader, so you can just tap on it here. It'll show up right there. You put your finger there, and there you go. Now I did want to show you the camera app here, just to show you some of the features here. So when you open it up, this is the view you're gonna get. You do have a top row here of some choices. So you have your settings, you have the aspect ratio of the photo, you have HDR if you want it on automatically or off. You have a timer, you have your flash if you want that auto or off or on, and then you have some color filters here. I can even click it. Oh, they show up at the bottom here. So you have a couple different color filters here that you can use. We're gonna hit none, just like I was trying to. Now on the bottom row here, you have a couple different options. So you have more. Under that, you have slow-mo, you have stop motion, light trace, panorama, super macro, and high megapixel. So it does take pictures at either 12 or 16 megapixels, but if you want to use the full 64, you go to that setting there. We do have that auto, we have our video setting there, we have portrait, we have super night mode, and then we have pro. Now under pro, you're going to get a couple different options down here, some of which I don't know, but you have ISO and some other stuff, lighting and focus and that kind of thing. Some stuff I'm not really familiar with. However, if you go into the auto mode here, you'll see on the right hand side we do have a couple of options here. So we do have our zoom right here, so you can either hit this and zoom this way, or you can also pinch to zoom. You also have that wide angle view, and that'll change to the wide angle camera there. And then you also have this right here, which is a great thing. So this actually gives you a real live view using 3 different cameras. So you have the original regular camera, you have the ultra wide camera, you have the low light camera. So I thought that was a really cool thing there, so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like on the cameras before you even take a picture. And just to show you the settings here, so by default you get 4:3 aspect ratio at 16 megapixels. Your video quality by default is 1080p, 16:9, 30 frames per second. Under photo size, these are your options here. So you can do high megapixels 64, 4:3 aspect ratio, 16 megapixels 4:3, 12 megapixel 1:1 ratio, 12 megapixel 16:9 ratio, and 10 megapixels full screen. Under our video quality, the options are 4K 16:9, 30 frames per second, 1080p 16:9, 30 frames per second, 720 at 16:9 and 30 frames per second, and 480p 4:3 at 30 frames per second. You do have video stabilization. This is electronic image stabilization, so not optical image stabilization. You have a couple different options under the intelligent features. You have an AI camera, calorie detection, AI composition. You have dark shot. You have a volume button function, so you can use the volume button as a shutter, which is really nice. Touch to capture, so you can touch anywhere on the screen to take the picture rather than hitting the actual shutter. You have the grid option there. Triple cam option, which was what I just showed you there. You can check out your storage here, or you can change where you want to store the photos. You can store them on the phone or on the SD card. And you can have the save location information, shutter sound on or off, and then your watermark. So as I had mentioned in my previous video, some people may have complained about the watermark in the lower left hand corner showing the TCL 10 Pro or 10L branding, and you can turn that off, which is nice. If you wanted to reset all your settings, you can go down here to the bottom and just hit that. Now when you go into the front camera, you do have those same options here. So you have the more to the side here with those same options. You've got your auto, video, portrait, super night, and pro. We can hit the settings here. And as you can see, the photo size it chooses is 6 megapixels at 4:3 aspect ratio. You do have the high megapixel option of 24 at 4:3, 5 megapixels 1:1, 4 megapixels at 16:9, and 3 megapixels full screen. As far as your video quality options for the front camera, you have 1080p 16:9, 30 frames per second, 720p 16:9 at 30 frames per second, and 480p at 4:3 aspect ratio, 30 frames per second. And you also have electronic image stabilization there, and the same options as far as your storage and that kind of thing there. So let's go ahead and talk about some of the unique features of this phone. One being this NXTVISION, which is actually a visual processing chip in the phone here, and it allows you to enhance all the visuals of the phone here. So if you click here, you can see that it'll make everything pop and be very saturated. You can also have standard definition content become HDR content, so it will basically upscale anything you're looking at, so whether it be picture, video, what have you. You do have a reading mode, so you can optimize it there. You do have different colors. You can have the screen here. So you'd have to turn off that visual enhancement to change that, but you do have standard, gentle, and vivid, and then you get a preview right there of how that will look. Another really cool feature here is the smart key, and this is a key on the left-hand side of the device which can be programmed to do any number of things here. So you can have a program for a single press, a double press, or a long press. And you can go in to each here and it will give you a bunch of different options you can choose for that. So you can have it launch the camera, launch the front camera, launch any aspect of the camera. You can have it take a selfie, you can have it start screen recording, and just quite a few different options here. I have not set mine up, but really cool there. So say you want to turn your flashlight on and off really quickly. These are very bright LED flashes on this device, but really nice option there. So you can have it programmed for a single press, double press, or a long press. And you're not stuck with just using it for Google Assistant or Bixby, for example. Another really nice feature here is on the side here, you can just swipe right here for this tab, and you can have a list of easily accessible apps. You can swipe again and you can have easily accessible contacts here. Swipe again and you have a ruler, and you can have it in inches or centimeters here. And then you can measure using your phone. So really nice there. Another really cool feature of the 10 Pro is that there is something called Super Bluetooth, basically meaning you can have 2 to 4 speakers connected at once and used at the same time, as well as 2 to 4 headphones. And you can go into the settings here under Bluetooth and you can adjust them to be different. You can have them be left justified, center justified, however you like. So you can have 4 speakers in a room within a party or something, say for instance, and have some really awesome sound all coming from one device. So that's a really cool thing. So I do have 2 speakers connected here, and I wanted to demonstrate that for you right now. I don't have 4 Bluetooth speakers, but I do have 2, so I can actually demonstrate that for you. Another nice inclusion here is an optimize button as well as a smart manager. So you can just hit the optimize button there. You get a little nice cool feature. on the TCL 10 Pro. So pros here, I think the design is absolutely beautiful. Really nice design. We do have really nice materials being used with the phone. We do have those 4 cameras included. Really nice. Other nice features are that headphone jack being included, the IR blaster, USB-C, that smart key, as well as the integrated features that they offer, like Super Bluetooth. I think that's really unique. The optimization that they offer with the TCL UI, I think that's really nice. The screen quality is absolutely gorgeous, and for the most part, I think the cameras are really good. So those are some pros there. Now, as far as cons, I don't see much as far as cons here. Using the device, the only thing really that bothered me a lot were these curved edges. So the curved edges kind of got on my nerves just because when typing on the device, the keyboard goes a little off on the curve, and you kind of have to be aware of that. On other devices I've seen with curved glass before, like Samsung, they would have their keyboard where you could make the keyboard only on the flat surface of the phone, and that kind of made that a little bit better. So while it is a beautiful design, it's kind of an annoying use case. The screen itself is absolutely gorgeous, so I have no issues with that. Now this is running pre-release software, so one thing I did notice also is it is a very sensitive screen, so really it doesn't take much of any touch to get it to recognize, and you might have missed touches here and there. So that's kind of annoying there. Another con, and kind of something I shouldn't really nitpick on, is the lack of wireless charging. I would have liked to see it, but considering the price, I can't really gripe about it. I think that they made the right compromises when making this phone. However, I think that having wireless charging and then that reverse wireless charging would have been a nice feature to have. Another thing that's missing here is it doesn't have a telephoto lens, which isn't a big deal. It still has 10 times zoom, but I did notice that when zooming, it had really not the greatest quality for zoomed in photos. For photos and everything in general, it looked pretty nice. But if you zoom in too much, you get a lot of artifacts and it just doesn't look as good. Another thing I can't really gripe about, but would be, I guess, considered a con, is the lack of an IP rating. One thing I did notice though, is that in the SIM card tray, the SIM card micro SD tray, there is a gasket around that tray. So it is possible it's splash proof, but not waterproof or not water resistant. So that's one thing that is kind of a con, but then again, for budget phones and for mid-range phones, you can't really expect to have water resistance, as that is kind of a costly addition. Another con with this is that it'll only be offered one for sure update for an Android update. So it will get Android 11. TCL said that it will get that, but we don't know if it'll get anything further. I can't really fault that because a lot of budget and mid-range Android devices may or may not even get one upgrade, and that's kind of something you have to expect with Android phones. I've noticed you have Android makers or Android manufacturers like Samsung and Motorola, and they usually will offer about 2 upgrades for flagship devices, so I can't really fault them for, at least they're offering one. However, if you look at it from the perspective of like the iPhone SE is $50 less than this phone, and it will probably get updates for 5 years at least. But in the Android world, I noticed that a lot of Android phones just don't get that many updates. Unless you have a Pixel device, you will not get updates like a Pixel device. So those are my pros and cons of the phone. Overall, I think it's a great value. It's $449 for this phone. A lot of what I've read is that people don't think it's worth the price, but I think that if you have this phone in hand and you see what it offers, it does have a lot to offer. It has a lot going for it. And if you compare it to the TCL 10L, that might be the better use case for a lot of people because it's $250 versus $450, and it offers similar specs, but you're missing some of the niceties that the Pro has. So you're missing that AMOLED display, beautiful curve here. It does have better cameras than the 10L. You also miss out on some of the Pro features here, like this nice app and contact drawer and ruler there. You miss out on the IR blaster, and you miss out on a little bit of a faster processor. So I don't know, it's gonna be up to the consumer to find what works best for you. I'd say this is a good choice and I would definitely check it out. However, if you are looking for a budget phone that has a lot to offer for the price, the 10L might be the better way to go. Another phone to be on the lookout for is definitely the 10 5G, which will be coming out later this year. And from the looks of it, it looks kind of like a 10L with some of the features of the 10 Pro, and it'll be under $500, which is just crazy, because if you look at the 5G phones that are currently offered, you're at least gonna spend $1,000. So anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed this review of the TCL 10 Pro. Hopefully I answered any questions you might have. And if you do have any additional questions, or you want to ask anything about this phone, please feel free to leave me a comment down below. You can also catch me on Twitter, and I'll leave my handle right up here so you can see. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, and if you want to see more like this, consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one.